I am doing this video to document the process that I go through to grow Acer griseum, which is a common name paperbark maple, from seed. Now, the reason this warrants a process and a video to document is because the seed is very difficult to germinate casually. So the seeds that are produced by Acer griseum are what's known as parthenocarpic, which means that lots of the seeds, so you have the little winged fruits. I have some here, so I'll show one rather than describe it, form with basically a hollow center. So this is the one, what I would call seed of Acer griseum. They actually come off the tree in pairs, attached to each other usually. And it would actually, most of these will have a hollow center. So the hollow center is devoid of an embryo, and what we have is here samara, and the kind of shell or the outside, the protective layer around the embryo is called the pericarp. So I've actually sown this year, or last year, about 150 of these Acer griseum seeds, which I have collected from various public gardens, just on the floor around the trees. And out of those 150, only one has germinated. So it's really difficult, and that's not uncommon. It's not because I've done a bad job. So really, to get these to germinate, you need to follow a process. So the process that I'm going to follow has been laid out quite nicely by someone called Tim from the University of British Columbia forum. He's not from that university, but they have a forum, and in that forum there's a maples section, and he's defined that, so I should credit him. I'm following the process that he's laid out. So I'm going to do that. One disclaimer: because I am videoing this and because I'm using chemicals, I think it's prudent for me to say that you should take, if you're going to follow this process, then you should take care. And just because I'm doing it doesn't mean I'm saying it's safe, and you should read the safety instructions and all that sort of thing, and take the normal care that you would when you're dealing with chemicals. So just because I'm showing you how to do this doesn't mean I'm telling you to do it and that it's safe. So be careful. So I'll start by explaining all of the things that I've got here. So I've got a batch of Acer griseum seeds, and actually I've got a batch of Acer palmatum osakasuki seeds as well. I'm going to try it with them. So I've got them. I've got some Gibberellic Acid. So I've bought this online. I actually bought it from eBay. I think it's I don't think it's that difficult to get hold of. Hopefully this will be good quality, and I haven't just bought a packet of talcum powder. So this will be dissolved into water, but it's actually doesn't readily dissolve. So to help that process, I've got here some alcohol. This is called rubbing alcohol, which I believe is used for like sterilizing tools and stuff. My understanding is that it would be better to have ethanol than this, but I couldn't get ethanol in the chemist. I could get this from the chemist. So rubbing alcohol, then a little pot to mix it, some scales. Now, probably these scales are not good enough, so we want 1 gram of that. The packet has 7 grams in it, and I think the accuracy from these probably isn't that good at those low weights, but that's all I've got. And some spoons. Here I've got 1 litre of mineral water that I've just poured out from a bottle from a shop. A tray that I'm going to use to soak the seeds or the embryos in, and some cling film which I'm going to put over the top of that. A penknife to cut open the pericarps to get to the embryos of the samaras, and some tissue, and I'm going to also use this for sterilising my penknife. So that's everything there. So I'm just going to record this process, and maybe someone will find that useful, maybe they won't, and I will be sharing all of the steps. So I'm going to move the camera now and go do a close-up of opening these seeds, etc, etc. So first of all, here's my penknife, which I'm just going to give a wipe. Let's do this. So there seems to be a natural indent that I'm just going to prise into. Should also say be careful you don't hurt yourself with the knife. I suspect I will get better with this after each one. Awesome. Well, not awesome. So my first one is empty. So if you planted that, you'd be patiently waiting and optimistically hoping that your seed would germinate, and there's nothing in there. So do the next one. I'm going to keep doing this until I get one successfully, and then I think we can skip the therapeutic process of me opening every single one. I think you can pre-soak these in water, which might soften them up a little bit and make it easier to get them open. The penknife might not be the right tool, maybe like a kitchen knife would be better. Okie dokie. There's another one. Now this one has got something inside it, but it's all shriveled up and brown. So that's a dead seed, or maybe like a proto seed, one that started forming but didn't finish. So they should be, I think, green in colour. These seeds, these samaras, I collected about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they were on a tree still. So it's only now really that Acer griseums are coming into leaf. think the common expectation is 5% viability. That's 5 in 100. But that doesn't, you probably will get a few more than 5 in 100 embryos in there. Just because you've got an embryo doesn't mean it will actually grow. I think the overall, after everything, 5% is what people say. I think there's lots of factors that make this tree difficult to grow from seed. So you have the fact that the seeds are parthenocarpic, so you might not have seeds in them, embryos in them to begin with. But then even if you've got one, you can see how much I'm struggling to open these. It might not get out of its case. And then there's the stratification needs, etc. This is another one of something in, but it's all, I don't know if that was, it's very tiny. So this has got a little brown thing in it. It's like, maybe it was an embryo that died and shriveled up. Or maybe it's one that started to develop. Or maybe it's like just the leftovers of the non-developing embryo. So this tree was alone, without a pollinating partner. But I don't think that's necessarily something to worry you. So this definitely has got something in it, but it's not alive anymore. So yeah, the tree was alone, and the seeds were actually still on it. So they've been there all winter, and it's possible that the embryos have dried out. Alright, so I'm gonna turn the camera off and open the rest of these and see how I get on. So there was about 45 seeds there, and I got what looks like 3 embryos. So here's one. It looks like I've nicked it, but you can, I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up, but there's a kind of green middle and a brown outside. So I think that's just some kind of skin to the embryo. So hopefully I've not actually damaged the seed. So that's that one. And then this one is still inside the pericarp. I couldn't get it out. And as I've already damaged the other one, I didn't want to risk it. So I figure that's probably exposed enough to do its thing. Well, we'll see, right? And then there was another one that flew on the floor and I can't find it. So, two, very small amount. There were a few what looked like dried up ones. So maybe if I would have picked them in October, September, October, November, they wouldn't have dried out. Oh look, that looks like it's coming out. Come on. It's coming. One thing, it's really difficult to open these things. There we are. Now, because it's a bit disappointing only having two, I'm actually gonna harvest some seeds from my seed trays. See if they're still in there. I assume they will be. Because they've been in wet compost for the whole winter, hopefully they'll be quite easy to open. So let's see what happens with that. Okay, so I've just dug up some seeds from some compost and I'm going to see if these have got anything in. Straight away feels easier. And they're wet. The compost was quite dry, but actually the seed is wet inside. Right, here's one. Right. Now that feels shriveled up. It looks glossy because it's wet, but it's shriveled up. So let's assume that's not viable. Again, that's got something in, but it's shriveled up. Maybe what happens is they do germinate, but they can't get out, and then they just die. Yeah, so this is really wet inside. How interesting. Again, wet inside, nothing in there. A tiny one. Okay, so I think really it would be best to do this. You can do this straight from the tree, right? But then they're not going to have been stratified. But you're just getting them out. Then you can put them in the fridge in some wet sand. It's a tiny one, I'm not going to bother. Yeah, so it's got something inside, but it's all shriveled up. Oh, this one looks good. This one has got more body to it. It's not like the others look like this, but they kind of like have collapsed or imploded. There's that. It's not flat, no. So there we are. Well, there was about 10 there. So one more seed. So let's move on to the next step. So here are my 2. I just put them in some wet paper. So now there's 3. Just put that out of the way. Here are my Sakazuki seeds. Don't really need this. Just put that there. And my instructions from Tim, I think from Holland. Okay, so 1 gram of Gibberellic acid. That should be 90% gibberellic acid, which this is, to 1 litre of sterile water. So, you know, that's water, like mineral water from the bottle. So, so we want 1 gram of this. Ah, where are the scissors when you need them? Now, from the thread, it was suggested by other people that this might be too much. Be careful with this stuff. I think it's quite dangerous if you like get it on yourself. Can't even open it. There we go. So 1 gram. I bet this isn't in focus, so we put this in the middle of the screen. Oh, messed up the scales now. Okay. All right. So there we are, 1 gram. And then we need to mix that with a little bit of this alcohol. So I've got here a measure, 1/2 tablespoon. So, ooh, it's 1/2 tablespoon. Whoa, it smells. And then we'll give it a stir of this. And will it dissolve? So you're supposed to use ethanol. This is an alternative. I'm going to open the door to improve my ventilation. And if it doesn't all dissolve, then you're supposed to add more alcohol. But because I know that they make a point of saying it's difficult, I'm just going to do this for a while. And I'm not going to add more alcohol until it feels like it's just taking way too long. So apparently if you warm this, it'll go quicker. But you need to be careful because the alcohol will warm much quicker than water. Very, 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 very much quicker. So you could like evaporate it really quickly. I wonder if just getting those seeds out of there, you even need this. It's so hard to get them out that I wonder if that's just the issue. So I don't know if that will be visible, but it's like gone milky, but I can still see bits of powder in it. So I think that means it's not fully dissolved. All right, let's put a bit more of this in. That was probably a teaspoon. All right, I don't know if this will ever go transparent, but I don't want it to end up with loads of alcohol, which probably feels wrong. So maybe there was too much gibberellic acid. Let's assume that that is sufficient. So then I am going to pour that into my water. and then give that a stir. Now I was going to put all of the seeds on this tray, but I've only got 3. So I'm going to use this little pot, which I had the seeds in. And I also have those Sakazuki seeds as well. So I'm just going to pour like some of this in. I think that's enough. Then I'm going to put my 3 griseum seeds in. There you are, my beauties. And then I'm going to put my Sakazukis in. So my Sakazukis, I'm not getting out of their pericarps because they're too small. So I'm just going to break the wing off of that Samara and just pop the seeds in the liquid. Now, I have changed this a tiny bit from the steps recommended by Tim. So if you want to see the exact process he describes, then I recommend you have a look on the thread, which I shall paste a link to in the description of this video, if I ever get round to uploading it. How will I tell apart the griseum from the Sakazuki? They look really different. So I need to leave this overnight and then plant in a free draining compost. I think mixed with perlite, or maybe pumice. I don't have perlite, but I do have some pumice, I think. So again, these were just picked recently from a tree. I think sitting on the tree all winter dries them out, probably. So no matter how good this process is for the gibberellic acid, if they've dried out, there's nothing you can do about that. All right, there we are. So this needs to be kept around 20 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to put this in my bedroom, which is the warmest room in the house. So there we are. The next video will be hopefully showing that some of these have germinated.